Okay, I'm live. This is a look. Okay, welcome to AWS Made Easy. I'm going to take these off. This is all right. Welcome to AWS Made Easy and my somewhat self-indulgent 40th birthday live stream. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I saw some fun LinkedIn comments. I thought, okay, it is the afternoon. I've got a little bit of time, and I think most importantly, it's really nice to take some time to reflect. Um, 40 is a nice round number, and I think it's useful and helpful to take time to reflect. Okay, what have I done? What am I happy about? What am I not happy about? What zooming out for a bit, and I think most importantly, just being grateful for all of you, for the really interesting things that have happened. So join in on the stream if you'd like. There's comment. We can just have some fun together, reminisce, say hello. Um, don't really have too much of an agenda. I'm going to do an unboxing of these headphones right behind me there. These are the Neuralink MW75s. I'm going to unbox those in a little bit. But I wanted to, let's see. Here, I'll put some things on screen. Just go over it. Let's see. This is not going to be as highly produced as some of the other content. We're just going with the flow, having fun. And yeah, please say hello in the chat if you're here. Let's post this. Here we go. Okay. I'm very, very, very grateful. My dad posted this post today. Extra special birthday to my son, Stephen. This is really nice. I really appreciate that. I am a father. That is the most important role in my life. And also, I'm an older brother to four siblings. So it was really nice for dad to acknowledge that and put this really fun memory here. I really like this picture. It's classic. So I want to give a bit of context to this. We would always build our own computers. We would, I think that was a really neat skill. I grew up in the east side of Seattle. Seattle has an area called the East Side. At the time, it was, we were outside of Redmond, Washington, which is famously where Microsoft is. So outside of Redmond, Washington. And of course, there was a great ecosystem of computer stuff, computer stores. There's a great store called Computer Stop in Bellevue. Funny, I still remember being able to drive there from the house where I grew up to there in about 12 minutes, and knowing exactly how long it took. And my favorite teriyaki place was a few doors down in the same shopping center. And I remember they had the chicken or the beef special was $3.25 a box. So for inflation reference, I think I just paid the other day at Taco Time like $16 for a burrito bowl with extra meat at Taco Time Northwest. So yeah, you can get a great meal for $3.25 back then. And it was really fun to plan out these big computer builds. So we would do, I think if you zoom in on the contents here, we've got a PCI Sound Blaster. I've got the Voodoo 5500 GPU. I did a post about that GPU a while ago in terms of GPU prices. It got a brand new mouse. We got a copy. If you notice there, that's Windows 2000 in shrink wrap. We've got a motherboard there. I've got a case back there. I've got the speakers laid out. The speakers were usually free throw-ins with the case. And you can see this is over here where my hand was on. That was my little brother's workstation at the time. So he and I would have worked there. You can see the little tail of a Lego trailer that had a helicopter on the back. Let me see if I can find that, because that was a really cool Lego set. 90s Lego trailer with helicopter. I would switch to this tab. I use Perplexity to search for like basically everything. Let's see if I can find this. Is this the one? Let's see. Let's see. Images. Yeah, this was it. We had this. The tail of that, I can still remember this very well. Yeah, 5590 Model T. And this truck, it reminded me of the truck in Terminator 2 that the T-1000 was driving through the Vegas canals. So it reminded me a lot of that. So anyway, that if I go back to this tab, that was the tail of that helicopter was right there on the side there. That was my brother's workstation. I had this really cool subwoofer down there. We had our LaserJet 5 from HP. It was our trusty laser printer. We had this heavy duty, like industrial rack shelving that was really, really good. Like my dad saw it at a lab at Microsoft and looked up the name of the supplier and found this heavy duty rack shelving. And of course the Costco 8-foot table staple of many a LAN party. So that was my build out. You lay out everything. Look at that DVD-ROM in there. Classic build. So it's nice to kind of lay out all the pieces, clear off your workspace, get everything laid out, and just go one step at a time. So anyway, this is a really pleasant memory of building this stuff up. So I must have been, let's see, the Voodoo 550 had just came out. Again, I love looking up for Perplexity for this stuff. I must have been about, let's see, well, when is the Voodoo 550 video card released? AI is maybe this terrible speller because, okay, there we go, year 2000. So it's been 15. Yeah, I was born in 85. So it's 15 in this picture. Might be 16. I must have been 16. This has been out for a while. Things didn't iterate as fast back then. But this was, yeah, summer of 2000. $300. Well, I was working for a mentor of mine, a guy named Tom Snyder, and he was a really neat guy. He's a guy who worked at Microsoft during the heyday of the C compiler. He was working on developer tools, worked on Microsoft developer tooling from the 80s to the early till like the mid 90s, and then was able to retire. That was, he kind of rode that first wave of Microsoft success, and then started an email hosting company. So I was working for him. He was a family friend, and we were doing Linux server stuff. I was responsible for a lot of the networking. We would buy these used computers from Boeing. Boeing had a surplus store back then. And we'd buy these Dell Optiplex machines from Boeing. They'd have these sticky notes of their specs, and we would image them, and we'd have a literal like IKEA shelving unit of there's dev and there's prod with the blue sticky notes, and we had prod was green sticky notes, and test was the yellow sticky notes, and dev was the blue sticky notes, and we'd have SSH profiles set up so that when you SSH'd into a machine, your background changed color depending on what kind of machine you were SSH'd into. So it gave you this real visual indication, so you didn't do something stupid on a production machine. So this was me. I was doing a lot of Linux networking at the time, which was really, really fun, learning how IP chains, IP tables, all that stuff works. 1 second. Someone is knocking on my door, so I'm going to mute the stream. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All good. Yeah, so I was working for my friend Tom. Unfortunately, he has passed away. Uh, so not it was really fond memories of working with him, learning about computers, and this point in time, Linux was using it on the desktop was a very rough experience, but it was fine. You could get by. We were doing any games. They had Wine at the time, which was like Windows in emulation, and so you can, with an enormous amount of work, you could get some basic games to work on Linux. But anyway, so yeah, this was a computer build that I did a long time ago. I really miss those days. Now, obviously, you can still do computer builds. I'm not much of a gamer, and my kids aren't, so kind of out of that world. I looked into doing some local LLM inference, but I really don't need to. I've got Bedrock, and I don't have a need to. As fun as it is, exciting as it is to nerd out on running LLMs locally, I don't need to. Okay, so this is a pretty cool birthday message from my dad. I got some really good. Yeah, exactly. Oh, they did have that unique hacker vibe. Got some nice birthday messages. I got one from Brian. I like that one from Taban. This is cool. Really, really grateful for it. It's really nice. And that brings us to another thing I wanted to reflect on. Let me take this screen away. Tech is funny. It's a really, really nice and gentle community, and I've been part of it for my whole life. So clearly, I'm biased, but I've met some really, really incredible people through the tech community, and if you start working with people, and pretty soon you become friends. And I'm really grateful. That's why I got my FinOps community hat on. The FinOps community, they're my friends. Like Darko and Steph and Ali, Corey Quinn. I have so many friends in this community that I'm so grateful for. Not just on these comments here: Brian Huff, Basil Fatine, Taban Cosmos, people who I've had long and good talks with on um, personal level, not just tech stuff. So I really appreciate that you form that community among yourself, not just about technical stuff, but about real stuff too. Not that tech isn't real, but you know what I mean. The other stuff about life. So let's see what else to talk about. It's been a wild year in tech. I find it really interesting. I share my screen again. So I use Perplexity Pro quite a bit, and let's just do this. What are the key milestones over the last 365 days in AWS, AI, FinOps? All right. Perplexity is working on that, gathering some information. This is Perplexity Deep Research. I really like that. I am a Perplexity Business Fellow. I signed up for that. Just there's no financial relationship there. I just get some early announcements about some webinars. I really like Perplexity. I like the speed of it. I love the API. It's good. I like how transparent it is at gathering sources. It's pretty cool, right? It's reading different blog posts. You can see the sources that are here. Recaps. He's reading, checking things out for the FinOps Foundation, LinkedIn posts. Let's have this timeline and kind of use this as a guided guided reflection over the last year in tech. And while that's going, Nutmeg, we've got a new official mascot of the show, but she is asleep at the moment. Let me see if I can get her. Come on, come here. Do you say hello? Come on. 1 second. Let me see if I can get her to say hello. Tired, aren't you? All right. Hello, and this is Nutmeg. Say hello, Nutmeg. You see? This is Nutmeg. Nutmeg is about 10 weeks old, but not 9.5 weeks old. And she is a St. Bernard poodle mix. She's 3/4 St. Bernard and 1/4 poodle. And she's just fantastic. Aren't you, Nutmeg? Aren't you? And she was taking a nap at my feet. Sorry to wake you up. She's taking a nap at my feet. Is really, really pleasant. Just sitting there, being here in the office, keeping me company. So that's nice. She's grown a lot. Yeah, she's 3/4 St. Bernard. She's going to get big. All right, just falling asleep in my lap. Can I say hello one more time? There we go. I need to set up things with the Nutmeg camera. I've got some overhead camera. Hello. She's a bit spoiled. All right. I've got her in my lap now. Oh, she's a bit itchy. Okay, key milestones about AI, AWS. Amazon Nova Foundation models, December 2020. It's been such a short amount of time. I use Nova quite a bit. They're really handy. Move my microphone a little bit closer. Sorry if I'm a little awkward. I slammed my arm into. I had this thing outside. I was doing some landscaping and just slammed my arm into a thing, and it's really hurt. Look at that. It's going to be black and blue, I know, but that's okay. All right, Nova, and I use my left arm, and I use the touchpad with my left hand. It's funny. That's a real tell a funny story. That's kind of a throwback to my dad. So my dad's left-handed. I'm not left-handed, but he was the one who set up the computer. And so when I approached the computer for the first time, keyboard is there, and then mouse is left of keyboard. And so I would just take it for granted that's where the keyboard goes. That's where the mouse goes. And so I always learned to use the mouse left-handed, and it's kind of stuck. Yeah, it's just. Sorry, I'm bugging you. All right, do you want to go back to your nap? Sorry. Go back. Come on. All right. There's some nice kind of stone tiles down there that I think are nice and cool for her. So she's just relaxing down there. Yeah, so computer was always set up, keyboard in front of me, and then mouse to the left. So I just took it for granted. That's how it worked. And then funny enough, with my kids, I'd set it up the same way. And they'd kind of learned that. And so this kind of bias for them 2 generations back is still shaping their interface. And so now they mostly use, they have their iPads with their Magic Keyboards. The keyboard is in the center, or the touchpad is in the center. So it's kind of broken that a little bit. But anyway, that's how it is. Ooh, 1 second here. Sorry. getting some birthday messages from some friends. It means a hell of a lot. So I wanted to respond right away. Okay, Nova Foundation models, December 2024. I use Nova. I was using one today, Nova Lite. It's really cheap, easy to use, and you don't have to deal with that whole inference, the extra inference step that you have to with like Sonnet 4 on AWS. So Nova's great. Nova Lite's great. Actually, I was using it to do an anonymous proxy server for the Cloudfix API. So I wanted to have a demo version of the Cloudfix API that's totally based on anonymized data. And so I took some real data and then have it rewrite all the account numbers, all the identifiers, but things like, I don't know, we'd have a tag that revealed some production workload. I didn't want to just be a set of random letters. I wanted to anonymize it, but still show that it was production workload. And so I have Nova regenerating those tags with that purpose. So every time it sees a new tag, it adds it to the lookup table. So it was pretty cool. Trainium 2, Project Rainier. I'm sure that is staying busy in the background. We don't get to see much of it. $100 billion in infrastructure, new regions in Taiwan, Mexico, Australia. I think the Australian Prime Minister was just here a couple of weeks ago. 30 billion in Pennsylvania, North Carolina. There's also the Saudi region that was announced. I think they're still building that out. Okay, reasoning and multimodal models. OpenAI launched the O1 model series September 2024. So again, you can click on there, see the link, and there it is, September 12th, 2024, O1 preview. OpenAI model naming is kind of tricky to follow. I use O3 a bit, mostly through Cursor. It's a bit more expensive, but when you're solving a big, complicated problem, it's kind of fun to throw it to O3 and see how it does. Multimodal AIs, we've got Gemini, Llama 3, 3.1. Enterprise AI adoption. Well, yeah, 90% of CFOs planning to increase AI budgets. The other 10% are not planning on it, but will anyway. Or maybe the remaining percent will be former CEOs. Yeah, AI spending is going to be here to stay for the long run. And it's surprising. I go to these AWS events and people, the organizers will often say, okay, put your hands up if you've got multiple production workloads with AI. And it's a surprising number of people who are running production workloads in AI. Similar was at the FinOps conference. People would ask that a lot. Cost Optimization Hub 2024. AI-driven optimization. FinOps teams increasingly adopted AI power tools, cost optimization. Okay, this was interesting how it phrased this as like 2024 roundup, where it's more. I want to give that feedback. This, please cover January through July. Oh man, I really smashed my forearm. It'll take me a couple of days to get over this. If you see me cradling my forearm, that's the problem with using I'll have to use a right-handed mouse for a couple of days while this heals. Or, I mean, it really is the time where it should be all voice. I haven't gotten a complete 100% voice-oriented workflow in the comments. Have you? Workflow. I'm not. I think we have all the bits and pieces there. It's still not oriented that way quite yet, but we have all the bits and pieces there. All right, gathering January through June 2025. While that's going, I'm going to grab something off the shelf here. Sorry for the posterior angle there. These are the Neurable MW75s. And here we go. Check this out. New in box. This is from my friend Ramsey's. Now, I ordered these a couple of months ago. They just arrived recently. I'm very excited about these. Let's do the unboxing. Well, let's see. All this stuff is here. Okay, I'll put this away. Let's talk about this later. This is it's gonna be exciting. I didn't have time to set up all my overhead cameras. I kind of redid my office a bit, so I didn't have time to set up the whole overhead camera setup. But that's okay. Let's have a look at these MW75s. If you're in the chat, please say hello. Okay, that's just done. Let's have a look at this. 1 second here. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, the plastic is coming off. Okay, so this is pretty cool. There's a sleeve, and then it looks like a box that slides out of the sleeve. It's a shot here. Okay, so the cover is off. Put that off the side here, and I've got this kind of box here, really nicely put together cardboard box, so dual layer. Okay, I'm gonna open this. Oh, that's really nice presentations. Check this out. This is the presentation. Comes in this nice case, so you don't need to buy accessory for it. Okay, this is nice. The case is a lot slimmer than I was expecting. I've got some other headphone. Oh, there we go. Here, I'll show you. I've got this generic headphone case for a different set of headphones. And this is really annoying to get in my bag, bring it anywhere. So I really like the slimness of this. Okay, comes with a nice little letter here. We're thrilled to announce to you a groundbreaking announcement in audio neural technology, the MW75 Neuro. Let's see, is it going to focus? There it is. So what these do, they basically scan your brainwave and help you see how productive you are. And I'm sure brainwave is not a technical term. It's doing EEG dynamically. Okay. Wow. Look at these. Okay. So this is the case, how they're laid out. There's kind of a magnetic clasp in here. Oh, I see. Okay, so there's USB-C charging cable and some other accessories in this magnetic clasp. Let's see. Silica packet. What else? Okay, some adapters. Really nice braided connectors. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's got a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter and a USB-C cable, both this gold audio. It looks ultra high end. Now, of course, the headphones themselves. Let's take them out of the box. Here they are. I'm going to take these headphones off. I'm not really listening to anybody right now. Okay. Wow, these feel really luxurious. Really heavy. Okay, which ear is which? Well, yeah, that's got to be it. No touchpad. No touchpad. Okay, so what it has here is this label here. You can see this Neuro touchpad. I'm not sure if you can see that there. But it says tap twice to start or end a break, hold to the focus session. Let's see if you can see that. So the idea is there's you want to track your productivity. These will actually help you see how focused you are. This is tracking focus. They're working on tracking other things. I'm going to charge these up, and I'm going to do a full in-depth review of these in a future episode. This is pretty cool. Okay, I've got these. Let me set these up and have them charging on my laptop back here. I've got a new laptop M4, Mac M4. 1 second here, I'll get this charging up. Fine. It's nice packaging, but can't get too sentimental about it. This is packaging. Okay, they are charging. Okay, we'll deal with that. All that packaging later. I'm super excited to. Whoa, let's keep that on, boy. Okay, so excited to try out those Neurable MW75s. I'll do a future stream on those at CloudFix. We do this really cool. Well, not just CloudFix, but all of the larger group that we're part of. We do this productivity monitoring through this thing called Crossover, and they, during work hours, you clock into Crossover, and it kind of does AI on your open windows and a bunch of other things, and it will, try to figure out how you're spending your time. And it's a good metric of productivity, how busy you are on the computer. And I'm really looking forward to see how that pairs with the data that comes out of these MW75s. Excuse me for 1 second here. Okay. I think I want to tell some more stories. I think that would be more fun. Let me see if I can get this camera to focus. ATEM software to control. I used to be having a Fuji XS10 as my main camera, but the power supply to that died, and I need to replace that. Let's see this. Oh, it's focus seeking. There we go. Yeah, I was really looking forward to correlating this data. Oh, thanks, Frank. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the data correlates. Okay, one thing I was doing the other day, I was using AI to try and clean up a bunch of my code that I'd written, and my work, I'm evangelist, so I'm spending a ton of time explaining, coming up with proof of concepts, demos, working on presentations, And I look at all this code that I've written, and I'm not an expert engineer by any stretch of the imagination. So look at all this code, and like, wow, a lot of this code only ran, for a couple of days, and then I moved on to another use. Some of my projects I use just for myself, and even though they have powered by great AWS infrastructure, it's just for myself. So I was thinking about, wow, why did I write all this code? And then I was doing some cleaning up around the house and looking through all of these academic papers that I had printed out, and I was doing a PhD program in finance. I didn't complete that, but I was working on it for a couple of years at the University of Rochester, and going through some of my old paperwork associated with that. And you just think about, okay, there's all this churn, right? And you think, okay, what if there was this like exactly linear path to the output of what you wanted to do, like your final output? Like if I knew 15 years ago this was going to be my role at 40 years old, would I have picked every last thing that I wanted to? And the answer is that no. And of course not. There was many diversions along the way, but at the same time, that's what makes it really interesting and fun. And it's easy to put yourself into a mindset of, okay, no, none of the code that I ever wrote is running. I've never written anything like the Voyager code, which is billions of miles away and can't be updated. Most of my code is kind of clunky and meant for just me, or demos. But I think, okay, that's still okay. That it still adds up as part of our experience, and it still adds up to something, even if it's not linear. Right? I was looking at all these finance papers I read about using different estimation strategies, about leverage ratios and stuff that I'm not really interested or passionate about anymore. It was neat at the time. I think I got into it. There's a technical aspect and the actual meat of the problem, and I think I like the technical aspect more than the actual meat of the problem. But anyway, there's a lot of code from then, and a lot of papers that I read, and a lot of notes that I took, and lots of really interesting math about stochastic processes. That was all really fun to go and work on. And even if it didn't lead to anything, it was still a useful exercise for my mind to go through. And I guess that's just like how neural networks work, but there's something the neurons in my brain did that are clinging on to some of that exercise. And maybe it's learning to think clearly. Maybe it's how to structure an argument. I remember one of our finance professors, this guy at the University of Rochester. His name was John Long. I'm not sure if he's still there. He was quite senior when I was there 15 years ago. He gave us this really interesting homework assignment. And this was just for graduate school, so there's only a handful of people there. And my friends and I, we stayed up. This ruined our weekend, right? What else are we supposed to do? It's grad school. It's Rochester. That was our weekend, was pushing through these problems, figuring this out. And we worked so hard. We finally had this proof, and it was this proof of some financial equilibrium that would hold under certain conditions. And we found this. Our proof used a technique, called limits, where basically you make an argument that, well, what if this happens an infinite amount of time, and you can apply some mathematical theories to that. And we did that, and we came up with a proof that we think worked. And he looked at, after 3 days and probably too much caffeine and a lot of writing and thinking, we had this product, and he looks at it for about 5 minutes and said, oh, this doesn't work, because this is about actual stock trades, and you can't use an asymptotic argument here, because you can't have an infinite amount of trades. That just doesn't work. There's an easier way to prove it. And so you'd think, okay, well, wait, we did all of this work, prove this theorem. Why is it? What was the point? But I think the exercise itself was the point, right? Of getting that feedback. It takes some humility. You don't have a choice in grad school. The power dynamic is, they're here, you're there, you're making, a 20th of what the professors are, and about 100th of what they do. And so it's pretty humbling. Well, you have to be humble, or you end up leaving and end up not working out for you. But I think that's not the only time most people will experience that. I think graduate school is an extreme variation, but it's really important to keep yourself humble and being able to learn and to not get stuck in that sunk cost, right? Okay, we worked for days on this proof, and we have to be able to accept, okay, well, there's some clever ideas in there, but overall it was wrong. It doesn't work. It's not applicable. So you got to move on. And we could have doubled and tripled down on it, but it wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So I guess the point of the story is that all this stuff that you do, it adds up, even if it doesn't feel like it. Now, I'm going to clean up this pile of plastic wrap behind me. That's better. Okay, so that's a story from the University of Rochester, where I was doing a finance PhD program. Again, I really enjoyed, at the time, I was really into kind of high performance computing. And I actually purchased a really heavy duty machine. Let me see if I can. It was from a company called ThinkMate, and they're still around. They're based out of the East Coast. And I remember it was the equivalent of a CC2.8X large. It was an Intel Xeon Sandy Bridge. I had 64 gigs of RAM, which is still good now. I mean, at the time, it was insane. It's still good now. I was working on these problems that required dynamic programming. So it's effectively trying to solve these problems by enumerating every choice that you could make at the last stage in the game, and then saying, okay, well, if I would have made this choice at the last stage, let's step back. And what are the choices that would have led to this? If I was maximizing my outcome at step n-1, and if I was maximizing my outcome at step n-1, what would I have done further? Therefore, what are the conditions that hold at the beginning? And then using that to infer, well, if we're acting optimally, then what are the parameters of the greater world around us, assuming that our simulation is correct. So it was a really neat technical, it required a lot of programming. One of my colleagues at the time, he did everything with GPUs, and on his grad student budget, bought this triple GPU rig and ran it in his closet for a year during his dissertation. And that was, it was really, I was impressed by doing that. Oh, thanks, Frank, for the comment. Yeah, learning through pain and negative setbacks is still learning. Yeah, completely agree. And it's probably a really good form of learning because you remember those lessons. Yeah, completely agree. And thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's, I'm in this room. It's hard to gauge who's here or who's watching. So thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that was a fun learning experience. I was spent about 3 years there total. It was really cold in the winter. Oh yeah, so two diversions. So yeah, I had a local CC2.8X large, and there was actually an April Fool's blog post about it on Amazon. Let me see if I can find this. AWS April Fool's. This must have been around 2008. I want to see if Perplexity you can find it. Oh. Let's see. Okay. Here it is. This was called Amazon Fresh Servers. Let me share this tab and put this on screen. Okay, so I'd ordered this big uh, compute, this big computer from ThinkMate, and I was expecting it. And at the time, my dad was visiting me in Rochester, and we knew this package was coming. And so I thought, okay, let me get this picture of this, the delivery guy, and then he came up with this local instance April Fool's blog post. Okay, Amazon Fresh Servers. So that's the origin of this this blog post. This is actually my graduate student apartment complex in Rochester. Yeah, there it is. This is a CC2.8x large, which was how this box was spec'd. And he came up with this really fun blog post about it. But then here we are working on it. You can see this is an older version of Emacs. This must be like Emacs 25 or something. And coding up all of these dynamic programs. Got my notes here, and it was a lot of fun. It's funny, when I first moved there. See, I was more established 2 or 3 years into it. When I first moved there, this card table was my only bit of furniture. Like, that was it, and I had my monitors balanced on that. And when I would type, like, the whole thing would shake. And but that was I went to Target with just got paycheck number one of, I think it was $940 every 2 weeks. And so yeah, that doesn't leave much for a furniture budget. I got that card table there, and that was still a big chunk of my furniture for a while. So anyway, yeah, that was this is how this blog post came to be. That's pretty fun. What else happened? Oh yeah, so Rochester. So I was doing some work with this high performance computing. I had a professor there. I don't think she'll mind if I say the story. Her name is Tony Whitehead. She's now at Michigan in the econ department. But at the time, she was at finance at the University of Rochester. And she was doing a lot of this structural estimation work, this high-powered numerical optimization. And she had written her code in Gauss, and it ran for 3 weeks on her machine. And she had submitted this paper, and it was in the process of being reviewed. And I think she had a moment of panic, where it was like, okay, are my numbers right? But it was already submitted. We had to double check, make sure all the numbers are right. And I might not be getting all the details of this right. I mean, I didn't know anything at the time. Basically, she had to rerun this program 3 weeks worth of simulations over a weekend. And so, like, okay, I can help you with this. I'd suck at a lot of the other things in this program, but I can help you with this. And I started up an Amazon account. I had my own Amazon account. I had to request special permission. At the time, there were 6 regions. And at the time, you were limited to, I think, like 10 instances running per region. And I had to request an expansion of that. And I got a maximum of 100 instances running per region in all 6 regions for a total of 600 instances. Then I found the programming language is called Gauss, made by this people called Apotek, and they had a binary that could run Gauss programs. And so I wrote a straightforward wrapper that what it would do is it was the same simulation over and over and over again for lots of different parameter values. So I was able to take her original code and then say, okay, let's run this over lots of different parameters. What I did is I think I packaged up a little CSV of all the different parameters. Like alpha is this and beta is that, and all these different parameters of the simulation, and I would put each one as a job in SQS. And then I wrote a little receiver script on my EC2 instances, which basically pulled SQS and looked for a job. When it found a job, it would run it, and then it would submit the results to S3. And if it pulled from the SQS queue, say 50 times, and there was nothing there, it would shut itself down. And I remember the first time I'd ever launched this cluster of like 600 instances. I was like, okay, I've got this for loop here, and it's going to spend some serious money. It isn't my money. This is my professor's money and her research budget, and she's trusting me. And okay, here goes, and did it, and launched this cluster. Was able to run these for a while. I had 600 instances running, and of course was checking it meticulously, making sure that the results were coming in. Yeah, I was just doing S3 LS and literally counting how many files were in there, and then just sanity checking to make sure, okay, do they look right? I had no control and no time to write anything better or smarter. But we did it. We ran the whole thing, shut the whole thing down, and of course her numbers that came out of that one weekend calculation matched. And so she was so smart. She was really, really, really good at this part of things. Yeah, her numbers were fine, but it worked out. We were able to validate the simulation. That was really empowering, but also really scary. Like, okay, this is like I'd used AWS a lot before, but never to the point where like, okay, my mistakes were $5 mistakes and $3 mistakes, and not hundreds an hour. So that was a lot of fun. Any other reflections? So I guess what I have to say is that experience really taught me it was like the whole power of it was really cool. Like I had never done anything like that before. I was really proud that I was able to make something work and help out this professor at very short notice. And that was really cool. Let's see, what other stories are out there? I worked for Microsoft for a while. I worked for Microsoft when I was 18. So this was 22 years ago. And I was testing service packs and security updates. So I was working as a contractor. There was a placement company called Volt. I'm not sure if they're still around. But, get these 1-year contract through Volt, and I was on the Windows App Compat team, and we would write this automation that would navigate through user interfaces, and in some cases in really dumb ways, like move this mouse, wait 10 seconds, assume that this dialog box is going to be at these relative coordinates. It would write this automation, and we would just test to make sure that service packs and security updates would not break third-party stuff. And it was really impressive to see all of the work that went into that. At the same time, it gave me this feeling that, like, how the hell does any of this work? Like, it's incredible that this all works, and that more stuff doesn't break all the time. I remember there's a particular weekend. Let me look it up. 1, 2, 3, oh, thank you, Trish Washer, the Gold Queen. Happy birthday! Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for saying that. Okay, I remember a weekend. I'm remembering this well because it was August 3rd, 2004. That was the release weekend of Doom 3. And we had, let's see, there was a Windows Service Pack. There was a major Windows Service Pack released around that time. This was August 3rd, 2004. I think that this was XP Service Pack 2. I lined up these dates once just to make sure I was remembering. Sorry, doing a little bit of searching here. Yes, okay. XP Service Pack 2 was released later that month. And okay, XP Service Pack 2. Okay, so this is incredible. Oh, thanks, Frank. I really appreciate that. Happy birthday. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thanks for staying on the show. Okay. XP Service Pack 2 was sent to manufacturing. So we had this thing called RTM, or release to manufacture, because these like service packs went out on like physical CDs and were mailed to people. And it was tricky for them to actually get it. And this happened like on August 6th. And there was this panic that somehow XP Service Pack 2 might have broken Doom 3. And we didn't have a lot of time to fix it. I had a friend who had actually taken off a few days of work in anticipation of Doom 3 coming out. And I think he was the one who initially raised this. I think, what if XP Service Pack 2 breaks Doom 3? Luckily, it didn't. And XP Service Pack 2 rolled out just fine. But that was a fun experience there. Oh, actually, rewinding back further, when I first started there, the Blaster virus was a big thing. And it was so bad at the Microsoft network that we were passing around CDRs and disks that had the Blaster virus update. And even within the Microsoft corporate network, if you installed your Windows XP while connected to the network, or we were using Windows Server 2003. Yeah, we're using WSO3. Yeah, whatever you installed, as soon as the network stack came up, it would just fall apart. And so we had to disconnect from the network, install Windows, patch for Blaster, and then you could do your work. It's so funny how, there's this. We don't think about that as much anymore, but it felt a lot more physical back then. Like literally, you could plug in your network cable and just watch stuff start to fail. It was incredible. That was a really good year at Microsoft. I really learned a lot there. And at the same time, you feel for the scale that they're working at, and just the size of our team, just testing service packs and updates. And I'm always amazed that there aren't more problems with service packs and updates, but I can see all the work that goes into them. Let's see. I guess what I wanted to say in this kind of long and rambling reflection is that there's so much when you zoom out at all the things you do over a long period of time. Like it's very rare that you're all working towards one thing for your whole life. But it's all meaningful, just as reps in the gym are meaningful, even if you might not ever you might not ever have a functional reason to pick up a kettlebell or a dumbbell and do exactly this with it. But it's a rep that you have to do, and it makes you stronger, and you're prepared for when real world things do happen, and you have this experience to draw on. I think very few people have the focus and the perspective to have a linear approach, and that's certainly not been the case for me career-wise, personally, in any of it. So looking back over 40th birthday, I am okay. First LAN party in Germany with the worms. They are looking for some shared folder. It'll put this up. Oh man. Okay, I used to go to Bellevue Community College. This is great. At Bellevue Community College, around the same time when I was working at Microsoft. It was a little earlier, actually. Yeah, kind of wrapped up at BCC while I was working at Microsoft. We'd have these great LAN parties there, and I remember setting up these Costco tables in garages and showing up with Jolt Cola and plenty of unhealthy foods and seeing I'd never seen a power supply just explode before, and realizing typically the limiting factor in these LAN parties back then was power. Right? It's not like you're just bringing a laptop like you can now, but lugging a 21-inch CRT to a LAN party and hoping that the Costco table doesn't collapse. I mean, that was some real work. I'm sure you've done that. Put it in the comments, Frank, but just the physicality of it. But then you're right. They'd often turn into, okay, well, who has what movies around? And, eventually it become more of a file sharing party. And you kind of, who has what network drives? That's part of that culture. And everyone just huddled around playing Diablo. Yeah, that too. Gold Queen, I don't know if you were here earlier in the post. I showed a build that I had done around that time. This was when I was about 16. Let me put this on the screen again. Here it is. This is me doing my build. There's this Voodoo 5 graphics card back then. Yeah, those LAN parties back then, those are great. And yeah, there was a real physicality. I mean, it took some effort to haul the full ATX tower and all the cables and the CRT monitor and all your snacks. Like it was a thing. Yeah, you gotta add that sound card. Awesome. Got to add that sound card. Yeah, Sound Blaster Live. That's PCI. I had the ISA Sound Blasters before, the old ones where you had your interrupts, and I remember like trying to get my sound working and going through like every combination and permutation of interrupts, trying to get like these ISA sound cards working. So then PCI came out, it worked so much better, and that was the Sound Blaster Live value. Cool. Remember 2004? That's awesome. IRQ, IRQ. Yeah, for those who don't remember, when you had ISA peripherals, you'd have to set this thing called the IRQ, which is like, I think how it works is like if there's a signal coming down the bus, the IRQ is like telling the card to grab that signal. Like effectively, that's what it was. And so you'd have to like set this number manually to match the card. And it was a lot of work to get this right. It wasn't just like you plug in some random crap that you buy off Amazon into your USB-C and it just works. I think that's an appreciation I really like having. Is like I do appreciate how well a lot of our things work now, and how much effort went into making it as seamless as it is. Like buying a network card or a video card. It used to be like a half-day project. Okay, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to read the manual, and you can't just take a screenshot and dump it into ChatGPT if it doesn't work. And if you're fixing the network in your only computer and it goes down, then okay, how are you going to search for it? You've got to figure that out with what you've gotten here and people you can call on the phone. So that was. But I do miss that the resourcefulness of those days. But I don't want to romanticize either. It's so nice to be able to do this. Okay, got some great comments. Tomorrow I'm going to install my Math coprocessor so I can play Flight Simulator. Oh, Flight Simulator was awesome. Oh, I've flown that Cessna around and tried to land the Learjet on the aircraft carrier. Flight Simulator was great. And I grew up in in Redmond, Washington. So a lot of people were Microsoft employees. So we were able to just bug one of the neighbors or friends to buy whatever we wanted from the Microsoft store, and it was really inexpensive. Frank makes a comment. Yeah, there was already a problem with 600cc Lantra I was planning. We had support on the German trainer. If you remember 2023 Vegas IRQ old pain. Hey, we should catch up. But thank you. Yeah, thank you for the comments. Thank you for watching. IRQ old pain. Yeah, indeed. It took so much work to get any hardware to work. And now I've got got a camera, and I've got 2 monitors. I never think about it. Like, you plug in an HDMI into something and it works, and not having to recompile a kernel if you buy a new piece of hardware and search through, bug people on IRCs and what do I do, and get these absurd responses. All this stuff just works. That's pretty exciting. I think the frontier now is what we can do with AI. I'm very excited about all that. And how are you? Are you all in the chat? Like, how are you using AI? And what are you all excited about? I know I've been talking a lot, but I'm the only one here. So, what are you all using AI for? I use it a lot, but it is that same dichotomy, right? If the more we use it, certain muscles go away. But I think we replace them with other things. Like, I will never have as many phone numbers memorized as my grandma. And my original phone number, I still have that memorized from when I was a kid, 340-1940. And you could see how the whole neighborhood was laid out, and everyone got phone numbers at the same time. As I remember, my friend down the street was a slightly different phone number. And you could map it out. Like, if you counted the houses in the same order that the phone company did, everyone had that. So I think those muscles don't get exercised as much, and certainly if you try to memorize stuff, it's harder, right? Because we're not as good at that. My grandma, she used to be a big part of the family business, and she had probably her top 500 clients memorized. It was incredible how quickly she could just smash those numbers out. I have my own number memorized, and a couple of my siblings and parents' numbers, because I remember dialing those a lot, and they haven't changed. I've got my old bulletin board. I used to have Prodigy Internet, and I've got my Prodigy ID memorized. I don't remember my ICQ number. Gold Queen, using AI. Frank Borman for romantic letters. Gold Queen, using it to build support for a training company. That's awesome. I like that. Those are great usage of AI. Romantic letters, build support for a training company. That's cool. Good usages of AI. Work in education. Sometimes learners don't listen to me, but I put info into Gen AI, create a PowerPoint. That's interesting. The point that you're making. I work in education. Sometimes learners don't listen, but if I put the info in Gen AI, create a PowerPoint, and record it, put it up on YouTube, then they listen. I remember a while, I used to be teaching at the University of Washington in their technical management MBA program. And, this is a really interesting point. They feel they have discovered it instead of having it shoved at them. Okay, I'm going to change my anecdote. That's really interesting. Okay, you put it in, and it's funny that the PowerPoint and YouTube and AI are all these intermediaries of you getting your knowledge to your students. That's interesting that you still want to have that feeling of that they want that feeling of discoverability. That's interesting. Yeah, I used to teach the tech management MBA program, in a statistics course, and I was thinking about making these slides, and I thought I've got to be the hundredth time, or the millionth time someone's made slides on these statistical concepts. This wasn't cutting edge. It was just kind of a review statistics, and I thought my time's better spent. Like if I can get the students to watch the material on their own, so like what you're saying, if they can watch it on their own and discover it, everyone's time is better spent if I can help talk to them and guide them through where they're stuck. And I guess they call that the inverted classroom model. Frank's put here, AI helps me structure my ideas in a better order for training and consulting. Yeah. I find that I have a brain dump. I mean, I've always got a few like Perplexity windows open, and one of them is like scratching that itch of like, just remind random ideas. I've got another one, a sheet full of URLs that I think are broadly related to a project, and then being able to point at these sheet of URLs and say, okay, well, how are these all useful? And give me some ideas, right? Because it's one thing to have these little nuggets of insight, but they have to be, I guess what we're both saying is presented in a way for consumption, right? It's not just if you know it, they will come. You have to present it in a way that's relevant to today. It's funny. I have this huge respect for Wikipedia as this very like predictable source of facts, but then showing my kids Wikipedia versus ChatGPT, it's like I might as well be showing them, boxes full of index cards and Dewey Decimal numbers, right? There's no, and they had said, well, this isn't personalized. There's no story. This isn't answering a question. It's just a list of facts. That's a good point. If you learn fast, you forget fast. If you learn and discover it I'm going to put this on the screen. If you learn fast, you forget fast. If you go off and discover it, accidentally lay it on their path, then they remember it. And I think that ties into what we were saying earlier about there's certain lessons that you remember that are really hard won, right? I remember working for days or weeks on these assignments during graduate school and just being told, oh no, you went off the deep end, this is wrong, and being able to take that loss and okay, yeah, then you kind of you can find the right path because you've been blocked at all the other paths. And so you're kind of, it's almost the opposite of what you're saying, right? You discover it by way of going down every other wrong path first. Once I'm going to have a drink of water here. I'm looking down here. I'm checking on the mascot to our show today. Let me see. Oh, she's still asleep. The next time she wakes up, I'm going to have her say hi again. That's my dog named Nutmeg. And my kids named that dog. We had another dog named Cinnamon. And so Nutmeg seemed like a logical extension. Let me see if I can. Nutmeg, are you awake? No. She's still asleep. She is growing. Oh. All right. Looks like good names sound great. All right. I'm gonna have to show you Nutmeg. She'll. Let's see. Come here, Nutmeg. Oh, come here. Ready? Okay. There she is. This is Nutmeg. She's my 9-week-old, 3/4 Saint Bernard, quarter poodle puppy. She's weighs almost 20 pounds, which is a lot for 9 weeks old. Let's see if I can tilt the camera. I'll just hold her up. Okay, if I move the keyboard, she can stand on my desk without stopping the live stream. Okay, just spilled some water everywhere. That's okay. Ready? There she is. Anyway, there's Nutmeg. I think she's going to go back to having a nap under my desk. She's been a really good dog. Okay. Let me see if I can. I need to set up a Nutmeg camera because there's a spot right under my desk that she likes to sleep and relax. And so I bet I could have a dedicated camera window for her. Nutmeg, say hello. All right, you can tell she's had enough of this. All right, I might need to take her out in a moment. That's all right. She's been a fantastic dog. And she's supposed to gain 10 pounds a month for the next year. So let's check in on the next birthday special, and I'll see if I can hold her up on my desk again. I think this is the one and only time that's going to happen. Yeah, she's back to her nap. Yeah, what other fun is late in the UK? All right. Thank you so much for joining Gold Queen. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. I'm actually going to be signing off myself. Thanks, Frank, for joining. And for everyone else who's been here, really, really appreciate it. Thank you for letting me ramble on and save this for posterity. And I really appreciate the conversation that we're able to have about somewhat nostalgic, but also looking forward to what's happening. I'm really excited about if I'm lucky enough to have another 40 years in the tank, I'll take it. Oh, cool! You're in Vancouver. To put up Frank's comment, Vancouver next week again in Seattle. Send me a message. That'd be great. Yeah. Have a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. That's really cool. And if I've got another 40 years in the tank, I'm very excited for what's going on in the future. I'm an optimistic person, very happy. And it's not to say everything's perfect, it surely isn't, but that's okay. There's good outweighs the bad. So with that, I will say goodbye and see you next time.